In the UAE, a woman needs a male guardian's permission to marry. But what happens when a princess decides to divorce publicly? Sheikha Mahra's Instagram announcement was more than just a post. It was a revolution. Dubai's royal family, they're the picture of wealth, power, and glamour. But behind the glittering facade, a different story unfolds. One that's far from the fairy tale we've been led to believe. In recent years, cracks have appeared in the golden image of Dubai's ruling class. And at the center of it all, the women of the royal family. These aren't just any rebellious acts. We're talking about daring escapes, public divorces, and shocking revelations that have rocked the very foundations of the emirate. Today we're diving into the dramatic tale of Sheikha Mahra and her sisters. These royal women have defied expectations, broken protocols, and risked everything in their quest for freedom. What drove them in such desperate measures? And what does their story reveal about life behind Dubai's palace walls? Let's find out. The story of Dubai's royal women begins with a bombshell that shook the foundations of the emirate's ruling family. In a move that caught everyone off guard, Sheikha Mahra, daughter of Dubai's ruler Sheikh Mohammed, made a stunning announcement that sent shockwaves through social media and beyond. On a seemingly ordinary day, Mahra took to Instagram to share a message that was anything but ordinary. With millions of followers watching, she publicly declared her divorce from Sheikh Mana Al Maktoum. But it wasn't just the fact that she was ending her marriage that caused such a stir. It was how she chose to do it. In her post, Mahra wrote words that would soon be shared and discussed around the world. Dear husband, as you're occupied with other companions, I hereby declare divorce. I divorce you, and I divorce you. Take care, your ex-wife. This wasn't just any divorce announcement. Mahra had used a controversial method known as triple talaq to end her marriage. This practice, rooted in Islamic law, typically allows a man to divorce his wife by stating, I divorce you 3 times. But here was a woman, a royal no less, using this method herself. The significance of Mahra's actions can be overstated. In the UAE, women usually have to go through a formal process to seek a divorce, often involving court appearances and providing valid reasons. By taking matters into her own hands, Mahra was breaking the tradition in a very public way. Her bold move didn't go unnoticed. Social media exploded with reactions, and surprisingly, many were supportive of Mahra's decision. Comments flooded in, praising her courage and independence. One user wrote, I find it empowering when a woman recognizes her worth and confidently stands her ground. But amidst the support, questions arose. Was this real? Could a royal really air such private matters so publicly? Some speculated that Mahra's account might have been hacked. However, as time passed and the post remained, it became clear that this was no prank or technical glitch. Mahra meant every word. Looking back, there had been signs that all wasn't well in Mahra's marriage. Just before the divorce announcement, she'd posted a cryptic message featuring a photo with her daughter, captioned simply, just the 2 of us. At the time, you could have guessed what was to come. Mahra's actions didn't just affect her own life, they sent ripples through the entire royal family. Father Sheikh Mohammed was no stranger to marital drama. His own wife, Princess Haya, had made headlines with her dramatic escape from Dubai. And then there were the controversial circumstances surrounding his daughters, Latifa and Shamsa. With Mahra's public divorce declaration, the spotlight was once again on the women of Dubai's royal family. But this time, it wasn't a story of escape or alleged confinement. It was a tale of a woman using her voice, taking control of her narrative, and challenging the status quo in a way that few could have predicted. As news of Mahra's divorce spread, people around the world began to wonder, what would this mean for the future of Dubai's royal women? And more importantly, what other surprises did the ruling family have in store? Sheikha Mahra's bold divorce announcement was just the beginning. Her actions sent shockwaves through Dubai's royal circles and beyond, challenging long-held traditions and sparking a wider conversation about women's rights in the UAE. Let's take a closer look at how Mahra's Instagram post broke not just one, but several unspoken rules. In a society where privacy is highly valued, airing personal matters publicly is typically frowned upon. But Mahra didn't just share her divorce. She did it in a way that turned heads and raised eyebrows. By using the triple talaq method, Mahra stepped into territory usually reserved for men. This traditional Islamic divorce practice allows husbands to end a marriage by simply saying, I divorce you 3 times. It's not something women are typically allowed to do. So when Mahra used this method herself, she wasn't just announcing a split, she was making a statement. But why is this such a big deal? Well, it highlights the gap between Dubai's glossy, modern image and its more traditional realities. On the surface, Dubai presents itself as a progressive playground for the wealthy. Gleaming skyscrapers, luxury shopping, and high-profile events paint a picture of a forward-thinking society. But scratch beneath that shiny surface and you'll find a more complex picture, especially when it comes to women's rights. Abdul Khalik Abdullah, an Emirati political commentator, put it this way: Mahra's post violates lots of royal family code of conduct, let alone social norms. His words show just how far Mahra stepped outside the lines of what's expected from a royal woman in the UAE. But here's where things get really interesting. Despite breaking these unspoken rules, Mahra's actions sparkled a wave of support. Many people praise her for standing up for herself and asserting her independence. It seems that while Dubai's official stance might be more conservative, there's a growing appetite for change among its people. This public reaction is part of a bigger conversation happening in the UAE right now. More and more people are questioning the traditional roles assigned to women, even in royal circles. Mahra's sisters, Latifa and Shamsa, previously tried to escape their royal lives, claiming mistreatment. These attempts, along with Mahra's public divorce, are forcing people to take a hard look at women's rights in the country. So what does all this mean for the future of Dubai's royal women? It's hard to say for sure, but one thing is clear: cracks in the golden facade are getting harder to ignore. As more royal women speak out and take control of their own narratives, it's becoming clear that life behind palace walls isn't always as perfect as it seems. Mahra's actions have opened up a Pandora's box of questions about women's rights, royal privileges, and the clash between tradition and modernity in the UAE. As this debate continues to unfold, one thing is certain: the women of Dubai's royal family are no longer content to sit quietly in the background. They're making their voices heard, and the world is listening. While Sheikha Mahra's public divorce made headlines, her sisters Latifa and Shamsa had already taken even more drastic steps in their quest for freedom. Their stories of daring escapes and alleged captivity paint a troubling picture of life inside Dubai's royal family. Let's start with Princess Latifa. In February 2018, she attempted a dramatic escape from Dubai that captured the world's attention. Before fleeing, Latifa recorded a video that revealed the dark reality behind her glided life. In her own words, she stated, "I've never known true freedom. For me, it's something worth dying for." But Latifa's bid for freedom was short-lived. Her escape attempt ended when Indian commandos boarded the yacht she was using to flee. She was forcibly returned to Dubai, leaving many to wonder about her fate. Latifa's older sister, Princess Shamsa, had tried a similar escape years earlier. In July 2000, during a family vacation in England, Shamsa made a break for it. She managed to evade capture for several weeks, but her freedom was also tragically short-lived. She was found and taken back to Dubai. Words believe she hasn't been seen in public for over 2 decades. The sisters' attempts to escape raise serious questions about their treatment within the royal family. Latifa's made shocking allegations about her life in Dubai. She claims she was drugged and tortured after her failed escape. According to her, she wasn't allowed to drive or even have her own passport. She described a life constant surveillance, always followed by guards. But the most standing accusation came when Latifa called her father, Sheikh Mohammed, a major criminal responsible for imprisoning women who disobey. These are serious allegations against one of the world's most powerful men. The plight of Latifa and Shamsa hasn't gone unnoticed. Their situations have sparked intentional concern and debate. Human rights observers point out the stark contrast between the UAE's carefully cultivated progressive image and the reality faced by these royal women. The case of Princess Shamsa even made its way to the British legal system. A London High Court judge found that Sheikh Mohammed had indeed orchestrated her abduction. This ruling lent credibility to the sisters' claims and further tarnished Dubai's reputation. As for Latifa's current situation, mystery still surrounds her whereabouts and condition. She was last photographed in Paris with the UN High Commissioner in 2022. While some claim she's now living freely, many remain skeptical. The lack of transparency and Latifa's previous allegations continue to fuel concerns about her well-being. The stories of Latifa and Shamsa shine a spotlight on the broader issues of women's rights in the UAE, especially within the context of the royal. Their desperate attempts to escape, followed by years of alleged captivity, stand in stark contrast to Dubai's image as a modern, cosmopolitan city. These royal escape attempts have done more than just make headlines. They have forced the world to look beyond Dubai's glittering skyline and luxury lifestyle. They've sparked important conversations about human rights, women's freedom, and the true cost of maintaining a perfect facade. While Latifa and Shamsa's escape attempts ended in failure, another royal woman would soon make headlines with her own dramatic flight from Dubai. This time, it wasn't just any princess. It was Sheikh Mohammed's wife, Princess Haya. In 2019, Princess Haya shocked the world when she suddenly appeared in London, seeking refuge and filing for divorce from Sheikh Mohammed. But what could have driven this high-profile royal to leave behind her life, luxury, and privilege? As it turns out, Princess Haya's reasons for fleeing were deeply troubling. missing. She claimed she feared for her life and the safety of her 2 young children. According to her, she had discovered disturbing information about the fate of Princess Latifa and Shamsa, which left her terrified of what might happen to her own family. But Princess Haya's escape was just the beginning of a long and complex legal battle that would expose even more shocking details about life in Dubai's royal family. As the case unfolded in British courts, a flood of allegations emerged, painted a disturbing picture of control, intimidation, and abuse. One of the most startling revelations came when Princess Haya accused Sheikh Mohammed of using sophisticated spyware to hack her phone and those of her legal team. This wasn't just a domestic dispute anymore. It had escalated into an international scandal involving espionage and cyber surveillance. The British court proceedings also brought to light other troubling incidents. Prince Haya claimed that Sheikh Mohammed had twice attempted to abduct their daughter, and that he had once left a gun on her bed with a safety catch off. As a form of intimidation, these allegations were so serious that they led to a groundbreaking legal ruling, in a move that sends shockwaves through diplomatic circles. A British judge found Sheikh Mohammed guilty of a campaign of fear and intimidation against Princess Haya. This ruling not only validated Princess Haya's fears, but also dealt a severe blow to Sheikh Mohammed's reputation on the world stage. As the legal battles raged on, Princess Haya remained in London with her children, protected by a team of bodyguards. The once glamorous royal was now living a very different life, far from the glittering palaces of Dubai. Princess Haya's escape and the subsequent legal drama did more than just make headlines. They shone a spotlight on the darker side of life in Dubai's royal family, raising uncomfortable questions about women's rights and personal freedoms in the UAE. Her story also served as a powerful reminder that even those at the very top of society can feel trapped and afraid. It showed that behind the facade of wealth and power, there can be a very different reality. While Princess Haya's escape made international headlines, another royal woman was quietly forging her own path within Dubai's ruling family. Meet Sheikha Mahra, a princess whose story is as complex as it is intriguing. Unlike her sisters who fled, Mahra has remained in Dubai. But don't mistake her presence for conformity. This princess is breaking the mold in her own unique way, challenging expectations and redefining what it means to be a royal woman in the UAE. What sets Mahra apart? For starters, she's not just your typical Emirati princess. Born to Sheikh Mohammed and a Greek mother, Zoe Greek-Arakos, Mahra straddles 2 worlds. This mixed heritage has shaped her identity in fascinating ways. Mahra doesn't just shy away from celebrating her Greek roots. When the Burj Khalifa lit up with the Greek flag on Greek Independence Day, she proudly shared the moment on social media. It was a small gesture, but one that spoke volumes about her willingness to embrace all aspects of her identity. But Mahra's uniqueness goes beyond her heritage. While her sisters Latifa and Shamsa faced isolation and dire consequences for defying royal norms, Mahra has been granted a surprisingly public lifestyle. She's often seen at high-profile events, rubbing shoulders with celebrities and dignitaries alike. And then there's her social media presence. With around 700,000 followers on Instagram, Mahra has built a substantial online following. She uses this platform to share glimpses of her life, from charity work to fashion events. It's a level of public engagement that's virtually unheard of for women in Dubai's royal family. But don't be fooled by the glitz and glamour. Mahra's life is far from simple. Public persona highlights the tension between modern aspirations and traditional expectations faced by royal women in the UAE. She walks a fine line, pushing boundaries while still operating within the confines of her royal rule. Take her charity work, for example. While it allows her to engage with the public and make a positive impact, it also fits neatly within the acceptable activities for a princess. It's a clever way of carving out her own space without overtly challenging the status quo. Mahra's recent divorce announcement, however, was anything but subtle. By publicly ending her marriage in such a bold manner, she sent shockwaves through royal circles and beyond. It was a clear challenge to traditional gender norms within the family. So what does Mahra's story tell us about the future of Dubai's royal women? Is she paving the way for a new, more liberated image? Or is her relative freedom merely a carefully controlled exception to the rule? The truth is, Mahra's role is as complex as her identity. She represents both change and continuity, rebellion and adherence to tradition. Her story reminds us that progress often comes in small steps, in the spaces between conformity and outright defiance. As we've seen, the women of Dubai's royal family have taken extraordinary steps to challenge the status quo. But what does this mean for the future? The actions of Sheikha Mahra, her sisters, and Princess Haya have sent shockwaves through the emirate and beyond. Their stories have sparked a global conversation about women's rights in the UAE. These royal rebellions have exposed the stark contrast between Dubai's modern image and its traditional practices. They've forced the world to look beyond the glittering skyline and luxury lifestyle. As a result, international pressure is mounting on the UAE to address these issues. Will these events lead to real change for women in Dubai's royal family? It's hard to say for sure. While some see signs of progress, others remain skeptical. The struggle for freedom and equality is ongoing, and only time will tell if these brave women have truly opened a new chapter for Dubai's royal women.